Paul's headed for prison and he's been sentenced to a whopping 14 years in jail.
He's actually been sentenced to 18 years.
18 years?
18 years, 14 years for good behaviour.
Is this the worst miscarriage of justice ever to have happened in Neighbours, do you think?
I don't know. It's been going on for so long. Certainly for my character, anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So how is he feeling right now?
Well, actually, sort of going back on that, there's been miscarriage of justice in the opposite way to that, because you've got to remember Paul got away a long time ago. He got away with grand arson and murder. So I guess that was a miscarriage of justice in the opposite way. Yeah.
But now he's been handed this new sentence. Yeah. How's he feeling?
He's a completely crushed man. He's given up. It's the first time you'll see Paul that I can remember that he's totally given up. And the reason he's given up is because what it means is he's lost the woman that he loves, and that was the most important thing to him, apart from his daughter, which he pushes her away, because the reason he pushes her away is it's through love, because he doesn't want her to see him living his life like that, and particularly his grandson, who he's devoted to, and he actually says he physically pushes her away and said, look, I don't want you to ever come and visit me again, because he's lost. He's a lost guy. He's given up. He's surrendered himself to a life in prison and thinks he's never going to get out of there.
And things are going to get pretty rough for him in prison, aren't they? Yeah. Can you hint at what's going to happen?
Yeah, well, you've got to remember Paul, with all the things he has done over the years, there's probably a few people with notches on their belt of a little bit of a talking to for Paul. And he does, and within the first day of him being in prison, he encounters, I can't remember the character's name.
I know, it's Squeak McCann.
Squeak, thank you very much.
Because I think that's a funny name for...
Squeak. And Squeak comes up and he basically, he gives him the ultimatum. He said, and he comes across this really sort of, great little guy, and he says, and he then suddenly delivers this ultimatum to Paul. It's like, well, I know you got money and you can get hold of money, so you pay up and you'll be protected, and if you don't, hey, I can't do anything. And Paul, in his very arrogant way, goes, bugger off. I can look after myself, thanks. But he's actually quite nervous about the whole thing. And of course, then it unfolds. All the guys start closing in on him, and he actually thinks, oh, this is it. This is what prison life's going to be like for the next 14 years. I'm going to get beaten up on a regular basis. And then, there's this familiar voice comes out of nowhere, and none other than Gary Canning, which is a really great twist, because you've got to remember Gary is in prison because of Paul. So for this alliance with Gary Canning is a bit of a twist.
So how does he react when he sees Gary?
Relief, but sort of confusion as well. And you've got to remember, at this stage, Paul is also starving. Because his food's been held back. That was the first thing that the prisoners did as the initiation. So he's actually starving. He hasn't eaten for a while, and to the point where I think one time Steph comes into the prison to visit him, and the first thing he says, "You got any food?" And he thinks, "Great, I'm saved." Gary Canning, who's got this great credibility and respect in jail for some reason, is going to protect Paul and sort of look after Paul. So Paul, in his inimitable way, suddenly gets cocky again. He gets cocky in jail, and he starts getting food again and all of that. And then, unbeknownst to Paul, of course, Gary is about to be released, but Paul doesn't know this, and so Paul thinks, "Oh, Gary's got my back. I'm fine." And he comes out with his packet of chips, and all the guys start crowding in again. And they say, "Yeah, you shouldn't be eating that," and try and take it back off him. And he goes, "I can do what I want because I've got him looking after me." And then the next minute, within 5 minutes, Gary's like, "I'm out of here, buddy, you're on your own." And unfortunately, Paul gets beaten to a pulp.
Yeah, he ends up in hospital, doesn't he?
Yeah, badly. Well, as badly as they can do in Neighbours anyway.